Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Unstuck movement. I am Rob Z, your host. This platform is all about breakthroughs. We bring incredible guests on the show who have found great breakthrough in their life, and also for you, for breakthrough personally and professionally, real life examples that it's possible for you to find that. And I want to start things off today with a question for our guest. We have the incredible and the wonderful Arlene Cohen Miller with us on the show. And Arlene, I'd like to jump into negotiating from the heart right from the jump, because when we think of negotiations, we think of sales, we think of that can be kind of a cutthroat thing that is not very heart centered. So, what would you say negotiating from the heart really looks like?
Well, it really ties into the coaching that I do that it really grounded when I got my diploma in coaching and mentoring is that the best salespeople are the best listeners. And they're not a listener that's thinking what they're going to say and how they're going to one up them and bring everything back to themselves when the other person's talking. They're genuinely interested in what the client, I can't talk to the prospective client wants. And so when you really listen to people, you find out what their story is, what their interests are, who they want to be, how they want their business to be better, and you start coming up with ideas that can help them. That's much better than coming in and just with a hard sale. People don't like that. Yes, you can be aggressive and talk people into things, but if you really want a long-term client that you have a connection with, a connection with personally and professionally or whatever, it's really important to engage in active listening, which is a skill which I love to help to facilitate for people where you're just listening and you're not thinking about anything else. You're not thinking about what you're going to say. You're not thinking about the sales. You're just fully present with the person. And then you're asking follow-up questions so you really get to know the person. And that can be a big game changer because people love to talk and they love to share about what's going on for them and their problems. And it's a wonderful way to be a salesperson.
Yeah, I mean, then you actually care about people, right? It's you're actually listening to them, which connects them to you, makes them feel seen, heard, understood, valued, and there's nothing that can ever go wrong from that. And to make it like even more important, right? It's the authenticity of actually listening to somebody, actually hearing somebody, and wanting the best for them. So you're not trying to push an agenda. You're seeing if you can provide a solution. My mentor always tells me that there's no client that like if you go into a situation where you're just trying to sell somebody something, that might work some of the time. You can push people into sales and you can operate that way. And like you said, you might get clients, but they're not going to last. They're not going to be well formed relationships. But if you go into a situation trying to create a buyer, right, through what you're doing, and they might be the right person and they might not, and you find that out in the process, that's much more valuable because you're actually finding people who need what you have and you're hearing what their needs are, what they need, and if you're able to provide that. So I love that. It's a great place to start because especially if you're somebody who looks at sales as like this really difficult thing where you got to force people into stuff, that's a problem. And that's you're going to have problems if you approach it that way. And so I love we're starting off this conversation that way. Before we go any further, I want to welcome people to the platform. So the Unstuck movement was created to find breakthrough. And one of the biggest pieces of breakthrough that we have here as part of our platform is the Connected Leaders Academy. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy, over 500 heart-centered entrepreneurs from all over the world helping each other grow and serve, and also the Pro Podcaster Academy. So if you want to be an expert at what you do, the authority in your space, make a lasting impact in people's lives, make incredible connections personally and professionally, I urge you to start your own podcast. I can help you do that at robzwentz.com. And our guest today, Arlene Cohen Miller, is a former attorney turned transformational leadership coach who empowers women to lead compassionate, balanced, and purpose-filled lives. With over 15 years of yoga, meditation, and holistic counseling experience, she helps her clients heal from the inside out and communicate from the heart. And how did this become what you do? From your background to what you're doing now, what led you into transformational coaching? What did you see throughout your life that was like, boy, there's such a need for more of the heart and less of the ego in the world?
Just flat out, period, if you just look at how the world is today. But um, Well, I always wanted to be an attorney. I became one when I was 15, and I'm still an active. I'm still licensed in Colorado. I just don't practice, but I like to keep it. It was hard to get. I'm not going to give it up. But anyway, I decided I wanted to be an attorney when I was 15. I did that. I went to Emory undergrad. I went to University of Kentucky where I grew up to get my degree. I was with my ex. We moved up to Ohio. I passed the bar there, and when I was 29, I opened my own office. So I sort of got that entrepreneurial blood from my father. He was his own businessman as well. And I mean, I loved the practice of law, so many things about it. I loved helping people, and it's darn stressful. The first 12 years I did divorce and child custody and testified in court hearings about where should a kid go if you have at least one of the parents that's on alcohol or drugs, or you have dysfunctional people. And then I turned to commercial law, which I loved. I helped businesses collect their debts. I moved to Colorado. I sold my business. I still loved it all. Wasn't nearly as stressful, um, but you never can leave the practice of law. It's not like coaching or mentoring where you can set up a schedule, and when you're not there, you can actually completely enjoy a vacation or a trip that you take. And about 6 years before we sold the second business, I have some amazing, amazing, amazing women friends, and one had started her own coaching and mentoring academy because she had gotten certified, but she didn't feel like it had enough heart, which what
Mm.
the way she was taught. And I had another woman that was a friend of mine with the same thing with counseling. And so my counseling is from Australia. I can't practice it in the United States, but the wisdom that I learned from it, I can apply it. And I also had a friend that actually from Australia, went to university in the United States and was like going all over the country and beyond, facilitating meditation and stuff like that. And so I became certified in meditation. I just felt in my heart of hearts that I was not trained as an attorney to listen, and I was doing the marketing for my second law firm, and I was the person on the phone more than anybody else negotiating settlements because we were dealing with a lot of business people that were having a hard time paying their outstanding invoices. So I needed to be a better listener, and I felt I had a teenage son by then. I'm like, I sure could be a better listener with him because we're butting heads. And so it just really helped my whole life. And I'm really, really glad I did it. And then I just really realized that I've had enough. I practiced law for over 30 years, and I just knew that I loved the coaching and the mentoring. And I just decided I'm going to take a leap of faith and do something else. I don't want to be like some person that's totally burnt out and not enjoying what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And you put time into the thing that was your dream when you were 15, and you were good at it. You did a great job of it. And you know, I love just this is a great topic because the title of this episode, it's never too late to start over, that reinvention blueprint, especially when it's something that you're good at that might be burning you out. You want to leave that thing behind, but it can be so hard to, right? That's your identity. I mean, especially in America, I feel like we really identify as what we do for a living instead of just like who we are. And that can keep you trapped in something that you're good at, you have a lot of success in. And I've experienced this too, something you're really good at, but you can tell is not the end game. And to stay in that for the rest of your life, you'd be missing out on a part of your calling in life, right? To embrace that
Yeah.
next stage.
And
So
I believe that the totality of everything that we've experienced, all of our education, everything. So it's not like we lose it when we switch to a different profession. We take all the skills and abilities that we had from everything that we've done and bring it to the new.
yeah.
So it's not like you're like tossing it out like it's nothing.
Yeah, you get to use it. And I think too, because this happened to me as I transitioned careers a couple of different times, thinking that the old things that I did not apply to the new things, right? And the things that I had learned in the past, because I went from a long-standing radio career as a radio DJ for 20 years. Then I started a digital marketing company, and then went into life coaching, now into business coaching. Broadcasting has been a part of my life since I was a little kid. And so I carried that with me with the podcast, but finding ways to take those gifts that we all have that we were given and apply them to that new area of our life. So what did that look like going from an attorney into being a transformational coach? I could imagine there's a lot of strengths there. That makes sense. What did you notice as like an overarching theme from being 15, wanting to be an attorney, what were the essence of why you wanted to do that that you still use today?
Well, I wanted to serve. I wanted to help people. And I don't know, I just was born, I feel like I was born angry a little bit. And I was like, I can do anything a guy can do. So I had a little bit of that in me as well. And because my father, I really love my dad. He supported me all through, undergraduate and law school. I mean, oh my gosh. And he was an amazing man. But his mother was a stay-at-home mom, and my mom was too, but he didn't see any other way for me. He just didn't, so we had a little butting of the heads, and then he sort of, anyway, we totally resolved it, but I was born with that sort of fighting spirit. And I just always wanted to be in a relationship because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be able to take care of myself as well.
Hmm.
So there was that way of wanting to give back and knowing that I could give back, and there was also that kind of anger stuff that's not there anymore. I hope but sort of propelled me forward.
Yeah, that fire, right? You need some of that
Yeah,
fire. It's so important, and you have to stoke that fire. What the name of my company is Lit Coaching. Lit is, it's an acronym, but it's also that little fire that we have inside of us, and that gets lit up at some point in our life. Usually in that age range, 10 to 15 years old, you have a fire for something. You want to go after it, and as life goes on, you can get swayed by the world in different directions. But if you find what the essence of that fire is, and you apply that to what you're doing, or go after something that allows you to stoke that fire, you're going to find real purpose and meaning in what you do. And like you said, serve. You're going to be able to serve at a high level. And
yeah.
that is, unfortunately, for a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say, maybe they never turn that into a business. They might do that as a hobby. They might do that as, just volunteering somewhere. But being able to access that and utilize it is extremely important. And it's interesting. So you tie meditation into all of this also, looking, inner peace and things of that nature. How did that become a part of the journey?
Because I'm a high-strung person. And, in order not to get all stressed out about everything that's going on in my life and be able to handle it with grace, ease, and flow, and I really see it everywhere, rampant in society, that, people are spinning so many different plates that if you know some simple techniques of how to like release, relax, let go out of that fight or flight into the rest and relax mode, it doesn't have to be complicated. It just can be simple techniques that we use to get there. So my friend who's the meditation, did the training, Patty McBain, she's of that school. It should be just really simple, like relaxation techniques, meditations, not complicated, so that we can do it ourselves, but we can share it with others so that they can take it on too if they're seeing that they're getting anxious and wound up and overwhelmed and burnt out from whatever is going on in their lives.
Mm. Yeah, it is, especially I imagine, I've never been an attorney, but I can imagine being an attorney, fast paced and kind of cutthroat. And for lack of a better terms, it seems like a lot of difficult people might be in that world, and you can navigate all those different personalities. And I could see how breath work meditation could come in to really change your perspective on that. Was that something that you started to do as an attorney, or is that something that came along afterwards when you realized, holy cow, the adrenaline of being an attorney is over with, and now I need something to calm down?
I really didn't know about all that stuff, when I was younger. I would engage in some counseling, got some counseling and stuff like that because the world of, family practice law, when I was there, hopefully it's changed a little bit. It was very difficult because a lot of the problems that parents that are getting divorced, you can't resolve them in a court of law. If you can't get along with what the kids are going to do, how you're going to split your time with them, how you're going to raise them, and one all of a sudden hates the other or whatever it is, or one has an addiction problem, the courts can only do so much.
Hmm.
And, if the attorneys that are working on the other side are just, trying to win and get the best thing that their client wants without really looking at the whole picture, which that was there quite a bit because you would give in to demanding clients instead of saying, hey, you need to pull your head out because this is your children. Yeah, it was really difficult because I really found it really difficult for that. And I've watched my son is remarried and very happy, but he went through a difficult divorce, and it doesn't seem like the court system has changed that much. And it feels like a shame that there's got to be a better way to help people, even if they don't like each other anymore, to still always, always work for the best interests of their children. And they haven't gotten there yet in the courts.
Yeah, well, yeah, the courts they're not handling any of those things, and a lot of those things, that's I'm a child of divorce, and I've also had a divorce myself, and now happily remarried. I definitely can say that say like divorce is one of the hardest things you'll ever go through because it's like you're mourning the loss of somebody who's still alive, and you have to kind of deal with them for the rest of your life, for on some level. And to build good relationship out of that can be really, really difficult because there's got to be a lot of forgiveness, a lot of letting go, a lot of grace for yourself and the other person. It's very complicated, and it's amazing. It's surprising to me how much I've been divorced now for over 3 years. That stuff still comes up, on a weekly, monthly basis. And it's like, geez, I wish that would be something that would kind of fix itself. But you got to be super intentional about it. And you also can't change other people. So you
Right.
can't change the other person. And
No.
you can pray, you can hope they change, you can want them to change. But for that to actually happen it's our own individual journeys. And just to speak to it, I would say for me, what's helped is how am I showing up in all the situations, being aware of how I'm showing up and like, what is my intention in all of this? And like you said, if you think about it from the perspective of, I want my kids to grow up to have the best situation possible out of a bad situation. If you frame it in that frame of mind, you'll make much better decisions. But unfortunately, that's not what happens, and emotions get in the way a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I guess that's the same thing that, I've told people, that we can't change anyone else but ourselves, but we can be the best parent that we can be while they're with us,
Yeah.
and take care of their best interests, and know that they know that we have their back. But we're not like a doormat. We're not their best friend or anything. We're their parent. And all you can do is you do your best. And if you feel like you're going to say something you're going to regret later, don't say it, because
Uh huh.
they won't forget. And so it's just, yeah, it's a whole different learning experience.
Yeah. Put the pause in. It's so important to put that pause in. So I want to dive into making that jump and that transition of changing careers, especially when you had a tenured career somewhere, and the challenges that come along with that, how you navigated that. But before we do that, I want to talk about one more thing about from your law career into doing, it seems like, a lot of soul work that you've done on yourself. Talk about bringing things that really worked in a different field, applying them to what's happening now. How did your job as an attorney working in law prepare you for the soul work that you've done now later in life?
Well, I think it helped to balance both sides of my brain, because you really have to be organized. In order to be a good coach, a good mentor, this constant education. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like watching um, coaches that are really good on YouTube and seeing how they do things, and going to extra seminars, just like I did when I was practicing law. And I sort of my analogy is that my right side of the brain was really developed and is developed as an attorney, but it was also being developed because I did a lot of negotiation and marketing, and I was dealing with a lot of different kinds of people. So what the way I chose to develop it was not the way a lot of attorneys do. We were helping businesses collect their debts from other businesses, and most people that are in collections, like if you're a collection company, they're not trained to be nice to people. They're trained to be kind of rude and demanding. And so
Yeah.
I took the exact opposite thing. I was kind, I was patient. If they didn't work for me, yeah, I can attach their assets or garnish their wages or something, but that wasn't the way I started out. And people really appreciated that. So I was already applying it in my practice of law, that no matter what unless someone's really rude or obnoxious to me, I'm going to treat people with kindness, dignity, and respect. Because if they're already feeling like they're the bottom of the barrel, if they're having, a difficult financial situation and maybe even facing bankruptcy. So I was already applying it in the practice of law. So it wasn't that hard to apply it somewhere else. I always wanted to, I'm not perfect by any stretch, but I always wanted to have balance. I never thought that because I was an attorney, I had to have this huge wall around myself
Mm.
and never let anything in. I thought that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it doesn't work, right? I mean, it can work on the surface for a while, being hard nosed like that, but the real breakthrough comes from vulnerability, from serving, comes from serving and having that servant leadership mindset, which is especially in a world that does not maybe necessarily respect it. You can get a lot of flack for that. It's funny. I have a sister-in-law who used to be in the military. She was a drill sergeant, and she was called like the candy sergeant because she was somewhat nice to her, uh, what they would be called. She was a drill sergeant. They were her, uh, whatever, officers or whoever was underneath her. I don't know what the term is, but she would get flack because she would, even though she was hard on them, she would be really good to them. And a lot of the other people involved in her camp, they hated that because they wanted you to be super hard on people because you had to like break them down, but you're also supposed to build them back up. And I think that's something we have to remember in every aspect of life. You know, tough love is sometimes really important and necessary, but you have to encourage people. And I think so few people get encouragement in life, real quality encouragement. And encouragement doesn't always, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's usually a difficult thing that you have to say to somebody, but you say it out of love and to encourage them. So I'm with you 100% on that. I want to pause real quick. We got to shout the sponsor of the show. But when I come back, I want to talk about that transition, how you took that transition and how you help other people go through that transition in their life. We'll talk about that in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So, Arlene, when you decide to make that jump, and anybody who's trying or thinking about making that jump, what are the most important elements? Because you can really get lost in that journey. You can chicken out. You can not go for it and delay it for many years. So, what were the elements that made it possible for you to jump out of law and to go into the coaching that you do?
Well, I just allowed myself to get to the point that I can't do this anymore. And I just like, I'm getting out. So, but I was really fortunate. You know, we sold our law practice to our associates. So there was a stream of income. And I don't know. It wasn't like I don't know what to tell the people because sometimes my mode of operation in my life is if I really feel like something's ended and I need to make a new beginning, it's
Mm-hmm.
time to do it now. Because if you wait the moment, like that window, that door of opportunity might have closed. And it's like I visualize it as one door is closing and another door is opening. And if I look back into the old, that's where I'm going to stay. And if I want to move forward, I really have to walk through that door and start taking steps to make it happen. And it doesn't have to be, you know, if it makes you more comfortable, I guess you can continue in your job and start taking those steps to make it happen. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just got to a point like I'm done. I've done this over 30 years. I really love it. I mean, because we were traveling all over the place, a group of attorneys we work with. We went to all kinds of meetings with the same people. They were like my second family. But that's the way I handled it. You know, I was getting money from the sale. And I knew that one door was closing, another door was opening. And if I didn't keep on going through that other door, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and you can feel that, right? And I'm sure you know people like this. I know people like this. You can hear it in their voice. They've been feeling that for years, and they're afraid to do it because there's no plan in mind, right? There's no vision for what's next. It's just I know this isn't the thing for me anymore, but what's next? And a lot of that comes from fear, but a lot of it comes from a lack of a vision, a lack of planning of what does that practically look like, and then taking small steps to get there. Like you said, maybe have an end date in mind of when you want to leave, but also small steps that get you there, and plan those out, write those down. And if you have trouble doing that, get with a coach who can help you map that out. One of the most powerful things for me in my life was mentorship, and coaches have changed my life dramatically. Did you have a coach when you were an attorney? When did you first
Well,
get a coach? Because
I went,
every coach should have a coach, right? So
yeah,
what
well,
about
I
you?
went through a process, and I know so many coaches, and there's a couple of them right now that we do trades.
Yeah.
So I'll coach them one week, they'll coach me another week, and it's wonderful because it really, because when you're as a coach, I am partnering with the other person. I'm walking alongside of them. I know that they have all the answers inside of them, and I'm just holding that big kind of judgment-free, unconditional, positive regard space and sharing what I'm noticing. And yeah, it's wonderful. So I'm always doing that, and I'm a member of the International Coaching Federation, and you can do reciprocal peer coaching through them. They for a small fee, they'll match you up with somebody, and you'll be the coach and you'll be matched up with someone else as the client. So I feel like it's essential that we're constantly and continuously doing things to evolve and grow. Otherwise, we're going to stagnate and go backwards.
100%. You can only stand still for a short amount of time before you fall backwards, right? There's a very
Yeah,
short window there of standing still. And what you said too is great. I mean, finding those trade opportunities, and I'm actually in the middle of that right now. That I'm trading coaching. It's especially really helpful if there's a certain area that you need to improve in, and the other person also has an area they need to improve in, and you want to keep each other accountable. Like you can do that without even coaching, just accountability partners in life. It's super
right.
powerful, and
It
you're also
is.
going to get so much insight from that experience. And I encourage anybody who's never had a coach or doesn't have a mentor or accountability partner or anything, we have so many blind spots that I mean, you could be the most self-aware person, but it's so hard to see your blind spots. What was one of the biggest blind spots for you that you had to overcome?
Oh, wow. My biggest blind spot.
Sorry to throw
Um,
it at you. I love a
you
question
can
like
just
that.
throw at me. It's been a while. I guess, just it wasn't a blind spot, but I guess when I was in my 20s, I really had a really strong inner critic. And,
Mm,
going through coaching and mentoring and counseling and all that stuff, I recognize it now and I can hear it, but sometimes it really is sneaking and comes in. Maybe if I'm driving my car and you hear the blah, 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 blah. And so it's just, you have to learn to say no. I'm
mhm.
not doing that. And just to be really aware of how you talk to yourself. And I guess that's something I overcame because in my 20s, I was really like that. I had some really twisted ideas about what it meant to have a friend, especially a woman friend. You're just supposed to complain and moan to each other about your relationships. And it's like, what? Where did I get that? My mother wasn't like that, but maybe it's out there in society. So that was something that I overcame because once you have awareness of what you're doing that's not working, then you can do something about it.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's helpful to have someone who can bring that awareness.
it really is. It's a game changer. And the more vulnerable you can be with them, the more open, the better it gets. And there's it's only so much we can do ourselves. And I think that that's like a really important lesson too. There's only so much you can do by yourself, and you really have to lean on other people and understand that the breakthrough is going to come through your connections, through your relationships, and of course, your personal journey is very important to the whole process. But there's going to be people involved in that are going to really help you change the game for yourself and find new levels for yourself. Putting yourself in rooms and around people that maybe intimidate you, but are good for you. That's one that's been incredibly
Yeah.
helpful for me.
Mhm.
So talking about like just leadership in general, but being kind to yourself. You said you could be really hard on yourself in the past. Same here. I still struggle with that in some areas. Uh, how did you soften that relationship with yourself? Because that's another thing that really holds people back is being so hard on themselves.
Right.
And it can drive you for many years, right? It can get you to where you want to go, but at some point it's holding you back. What were
Right.
some practical things you did to overcome that?
Well, I was in mentoring groups to begin with, and one of them that really has helped me is journaling, not writing big long things, but just making notations of what went well, that I want more of that, and what I need to change. I want to let that go, really paying attention to your day, and then using like creative visualization with that. Well, if I did it differently, if I didn't make that same mistake or fall down that same snake hole or whatever, gopher hole, the next time, what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would I be doing differently? How would I feel? So we're like laying a foundation for the next time something similar happens. So that's one way that we can begin to handle it and have a different experience, because if you don't spend your last, half an hour on your cell phone scrolling, and you actually do something for your spiritual, emotional, mental, personal growth, you're going to be working with that in the sleep state as well, and it's going to help you to ground it there as well. So that's one tip that I would share.
That is really good advice. Visualize how it can go right. Feel how it can go right and embrace that is is huge. And also I go back to the grace part, like giving yourself grace is everything. Like, yeah, it didn't go perfectly, but here's what did go right, and looking for what did go right in every situation, and how something that maybe originally seemed like a really bad outcome or not what you wanted ended up being a blessing in disguise, because there can be
Right.
many blessings that come through really difficult times.
Yeah.
When
Because
you're
we don't
working,
really know, we don't really, I just want to add, we don't really know. Maybe there's no right or wrong. You're just doing the best you can. And
yeah,
if you use your mistakes as an opportunity to learn and grow, then, you know, how do we know? Sometimes if we say something and it feels too harsh, maybe it was what love would do in that moment. We're just doing the best we can.
hmm, very true. That could be the biggest lesson, that you were doing the best that you can, and people that you maybe have unforgiveness towards, they were doing the best they can too. And you can you can learn a lot from that. Just like, okay, that's where I was at, and this is what I'm able to do. Recently, I have an 11-month-old, and it's interesting. Like, I thought, I have an 11-month-old and an 11-year-old, and I thought I'm going to be such a great dad because I'm like 10 years older. I'm going to be so patient. Like, I've learned so much. Like, this is going to be easy. It hasn't been easy at all, because I'm like older, maybe more tired, you know, maybe a little bit less patient because there's more going on in my life. It's just really interesting. I thought for sure, like, oh, I've already done this. It's gonna be a cakewalk. And no, it's life has showed me again. It's like, no, you have a lot more to learn. And at first I was resisting that, very much so. A lot of resistance. And once I started to realize what was happening, I'm like, I got to embrace this. Embrace, like, what can I learn from this? How is this going to benefit me? How can I grow from it? I'm curious, going back to your life as an attorney, what are some of the biggest lessons you learned about people? Because you probably saw the worst sides of people and the best sides in those situations. Any great lessons that you learned from those years about how people are and how to deal with them?
Well, some people you just can't deal with. You just can't, some attorneys who just were not nice, and you just stayed away from them. But I guess when I moved into commercial law, I just opened the doors. It seemed like people were a lot more relaxed. It kind of just like a tribe of people that I would see all the time. And I just learned that by listening, by being interested in other people, you learn a lot from them, and you grow a lot more than if you just want to blah, 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 all about yourself and sell.
Mm,
Because when you do that, you make connections, and they don't forget about you when they know what you do, and they
yeah.
know where to find you. And I just found it a much more pleasant and enjoyable and heart opening kind of life to live than trying to run around and tell people what I did. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it's just like a whole different kind of mindset shift that, I think women are really good at relations. Maybe, we're raised in relationship. We give birth, there's a sort of a intrinsic in our nature. And
Hmm.
I just sort of got the opportunity as I grew older as an attorney and switched careers with what I was focusing on to be able to use that strength.
Yeah, that's really good advice too. It's really good. It's so important, and I'm always taking notes during these episodes and looking for themes, and that's a great theme. That's a Dale Carnegie theme, right? Being genuinely interested in people, like genuinely caring and being interested, because people are fascinating, and the more you pay attention to them, the more you learn, and you learn things. This is a great way how to be. This is a great way not to be, right? So you learn so much by paying attention, and I love that. So just being genuinely interested in people, number one, draws them closer to you. You build better relationships, but you also gain so much wisdom from that. So that's excellent advice. That's so good. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to encourage people to check out your website, Jewel Consultancy.com. Is that right?
Jewel like the diamond.
Yeah, Joel, Jewel Consultancy.
Yeah, you have a different accent. It sounds different than me.
Oh,
Yes, exactly.
that's central Pennsylvania for you.
Okay.
What's the word consultancy? I feel like that's a word I don't see very often.
I don't know. It's the same thing as when I decided I want to become an attorney. I just got this download. Jewel Consultancy is your business name. I'm like, well, that's okay. That sounds pretty cool.
I like it. It rolls
And
off the tongue. It catches
yeah,
your attention.
well, we're all different sides of the diamond, you know. So maybe, I have and we have, they're all the facets are beautiful and important, but none's necessarily better than the other. It helps you be more accepting of people, helps you utilize all your skills and abilities. I don't know. I just like it.
Yeah, I agree. I like it too. So talk about that a little bit. You're venturing out into keynote speaking, doing workshops and things of that nature. What's to come?
So my primary topic is going to be negotiating from the heart, a new phase or way to be more confident, have more confidence, clarity, and calm assurance.
Hmm.
And so I am working on that. I have a lot of balls spinning in the air right now. So I'm going to be focusing on getting that out there, hopefully to different companies and associations. I really feel with negotiating, yeah, you can do keynotes, but I would love to help transform people to really expand their feeling of what they can do with negotiation and how it can be so much more profitable and enjoyable if you're not worried about winning. You're just worried you're just more in the moment. And I want to give people that experience. So
Yeah,
I want to do longer workshops and maybe go to corporations and do, one off like once a month or something like that. I think that would be really valuable to their people.
absolutely. And when I hear negotiation, the word I hear is communication, right? Because
Yeah,
negotiating, persuasion, it's communicating.
right.
And the better we can communicate authentically from the heart, the better life is going to be. Because I think going back to the beginning, full circle kind of thing, negotiating and the word persuasion, it can sound like manipulation. It can sound like convincing somebody of something that you want to have happen. And if you're treating things that way, you're going to run into problems. Maybe not right now, but you will run into problems and you're going to have difficult relationships. But when you approach it from a place of really, truly learning about people and hearing them, then you will be successful and your situations will be successful. And that's personally and professionally. There's, at least from what I stand on and what I coach people on, is communication's everything. And everything in our life that is good is because of good communication, and the things in our life that aren't good is also because of poor communication. And negotiating is a big part of that, because every time we communicate with somebody, we are negotiating our wants versus their wants, our beliefs versus their beliefs. It's such a core part of our life that it can kind of go unnoticed. So as we end this thing, I thank you so much, Arlene. Really great talking to you. Love what you're doing. Love your story.
Thank you.
Is there
Thank you.
anything that you want to leave the audience with before we sign off?
Well, yeah, because I mean, everything you share, I love, but it's real. I love to work with this trinity, like a triangle: kindness, patience, and tolerance. And I really feel that no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are in your career, no matter what you want to accomplish in your life, it's really important to be kind and patient and tolerant with yourself first and foremost in your life, and bring that self-love and self-care and fill your own cup up with love so you're not needy and looking for things outside of yourself. And that can really help you as you step forward into choosing where to from here.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Thank you for your time today. Another true testimony of breakthrough. Until next time, this has been the Unstuck Movement.
I'm here.